Hey everyone, we started recording and just unmute a couple more that are joining. So, thank you all for being here in this amazing time, most glorious, amazing time. Is everyone hearing me all right? Is my speaker working good?
Yes, brother, all good.
Thanks, brother. Thanks. Make sure the volume's up on this. So let me say concurrently, I put out concurrently, there are many good things that are happening on the energetic level. There's also profound, unprecedented, accommodating symptoms with what's transpiring in very good ways, of course. So it's all for good. Now, I put out a short update, I don't know, about 8 minutes long earlier today. I put it in the Divine Collaboration group, but it was an important update. So I had asked Sister Beatrice to put it in a YouTube if she can, so I can circulate it on Facebook and what have you. So excuse me. So that will be coming out as well. Some of that will, if not most of it, will be touched on in here, nevertheless. So, where are we at this moment? Where we're at is we're going into about 10 days of a reshuffling of reality, a further disclosure, or I don't wish to use the word disclosure, a further revealing the nefarious forces to ones that previously did not know the extent of the nefarious forces. So there's further revelation in these next 10 days, which is occurring to that respect because awakened ones need to make higher choices. So all of this is being facilitated, at least to the degree for how many more, if you will, are advancing in their divine prowess, in their divine consciousness, to reset reality and to take it forward. Um, right at this time, November 24th, 25th, will be a re-evaluation to look at the effects of one's rising into higher awareness, higher consciousness, and it will be divinely re-evaluated, if you will, at that time. Meaning, uh, how much more needs to be done by the advanced ones to facilitate a rapid shift forward for all. And again, I will state it's a misconception by ones when they think the masses need to be awake, meaning all of humanity, because this is not entirely true. We have powerful co creators here, meaning that we don't need all awake. And I like using the analogy of one enlightened, awakened one that has gone through at least most of their embodiment process. They directly, consciously, and energetically affect about 1 million. So when you do those numbers, I think it's around 6,000 that are enlightened to the degree of most of the embodiment of the divine knowing, then we can shift reality. It's a flash or a chain reaction, if you will. So I see Miriam has her hand up, so I'll see what Miriam may wish to ask or say at this time. Yeah. Go ahead, Miriam. Do you have a question or?
Oh,
Or did I
hello.
hit?
Hello. No,
Hi.
I was trying to mute myself and it was showing as that. I'm sorry. But as you go ahead, I would ask.
Yeah.
I guess I can mute myself.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You can unmute yourself and mute yourself. Yeah, as you did. Thank you. Yeah. So getting back to this, what's going on as well is, um, let's say some of the symptoms surrounding this, because everyone that has been following the updates and the sequential process with, let's say, what we call the sacral release process and the solar plexus empowerment process. These go hand in hand. For, let's say, I can't really put a number on it, but these should be over for a good amount of the vanguard that needs to step up. So their next step upward. Now, having said this, because there are, let's say, many or several levels of consciousness, what you have is that not everyone is going through the same thing at the same time. So you'll have several different common themes with symptoms, if you will, occurring concurrently. And this is always, for, let's say, the last few years has been more evident for all. I'm just checking, seeing if any more come in here. So having said this, what you have is you have subsequent sacral release processes that are initiated as we go forward. For example, what I'm saying is that whatever date it was back in August or September, let's say the first ones began that. Then let's say what occurred 2 weeks after that, then another group began that. So right at this point in time, where it's been several months ago, it's most reasonable to perceive and accept that we now have several consciousness groups, levels that are in that process. And because there are so many variables also in the effects upon reality, it is very difficult to pinpoint an actual linear time with this. So again, having said that, what I will quickly do is jump to what Father Prime Creator gave us, Brother Lee was between Brother Lee and I when we were in a conversation, whenever that was, way back in, I think, August maybe or September. So I was given then by Father that GPMS.world, which you can look at as the first level of the fifth dimensional state of being, that it was very, very possible that that could occur on November the 15th, which is today. Now, to my knowledge, the implementation of it has not occurred yet. But having said this, we're dealing with Prime Creator, all omnipotent, but also the divine ground crew, all of us that are here, that affects reality as well, to the degree that each one is divinely embodied and empowered. So this is one of the reasons why you will see some mentioning a flashpoint in a reset of reality, which can occur instantly. So we never take that out of the calculations because we just can't. It is the full part of the ascension. Um, just hold on here, so having said that, we never exclude the power of Prime Creator, and we never exclude the power of ourselves. Now, when we began to look at the power of ourselves, and I can speak here, but I know others have been over the more notably the course of the last week, they've been experiencing profound things in the reality, which are multi dimensional things occurring with part of it is a bleed through from the higher dimension that is able to affect this one. But what's occurring is this one is actually in closer, higher dimension where we have these bleeds are beginning to occur as, if you will, the higher dimension assimilates this one that we are in, if that makes any sense, which it does. So you will have found experience. One example I would give you here is several days ago, two wolves with a dog appeared here. And these wolves were not, you could see them, the dog could see them, she had great respect for them, even though they look like material manifest or physical manifest, they were not fully yet. For example, when they walked on the leaves, the dried leaves, there was no sound. Yet the dog here, Mia, she was able to see them as well. And so it's an important example, if you will, of a multi-dimensional experience from another reality or the next reality up in the least. So that's an example. Now with the physical symptoms, as I said, there are so many different ones. One of the main ones, which is important, and I think at least one, perhaps more of you are on here, is feeling right in the seat of your soul, the heart center, feeling that pain that, you might think in the old, it's a heart attack and some pains in the higher heart area. Let me say these are symptoms. And again, don't go, for anyone, do not go into any fear because there are energetic things that are playing out with this. And one of the things, this is your important energetic heart center. It is the seat of your soul. And this is important to know that because what it also means is that your soul is being activated to higher proportions. So your soul, if you will, goes ahead into the higher timeline, and it brings the physical vessel with it. But sometimes there'll be the feelings of wobbling, separating from your physical vessel. These are all normal symptoms to experience at this time. So there is no alarm with this, what I say. Now, we do not die. I need to say that. You may have a comrade that will leave a physical vessel behind, but that doesn't mean that divine comrade died. Not at all. In the blink of an eye, they are in the next higher reality or another reality perfectly fine. Again, what is kept for the most part intact is the mystery of life, if you will, yet here for the masses that are not awakened yet to the full knowledge in what is occurring. And also, there is part of the human experience that will play out with absolute joy here, hence the fifth dimension, that these ones that will be populating that first echelon of the fifth dimensional timeline spectrum, they will not have all of the knowledge, the multi-dimensional knowledge to be able to transcend and transverse, if you will, realities. Because again, there's a part that is to play out that is divinely secured with it. So as you can see, it's not one shoe fits all with this. And of course, there is hit buttons. So I'm just scrolling here. I'm on my phone. And when I do that, sometimes I touch buttons and I become distracted. So many symptoms going on, to keep it general, and consciousness, very important. Accessing different levels of consciousness. Your void space, which is your creator space, is so important for any of you visiting that. What has been occurring with the twin flames, they have been mostly put on hold with little love generated because the consciousness had been focused on at this time to ascend humanity quicker forward, if you will. So to do this um, without just the feelings of the heart, it had to be more of a conscious direction to go forward. Because just in the heart, if you will, it will just want to love, but we need that consciousness direction to overall effect the ascension. I'll stop there. Any questions or comments? Brother, if you like to add some, Lee, come right in. Any questions or comments?
Let's see if there's any questions first, brother. I'm not sure how much I wish to add to that from the consciousness, because anybody that's reading anything I'm putting out will understand what I've been doing relative to this as well. And it's very much aligned to what's going on in this next 10 days with regards to higher consciousness and taking out the distortions and the corruptions in the lower frequential operating system, lower sacral frequential distortions and corruptions from the dark, which has corrupted a lot of the lower ego. So we've been working heavily on that to remove that, to neutralize that, and take that out of play, so that ones aren't their higher consciousness, their ability to direct principally with virtue and honor, with truth, is now going to be very, very, very much more evident, as the heart's not going to be manipulated by these lower these lower frequencies. That looks like it's happening right now. So I'm going to leave it at that for a second and see if anybody else has got anything they wish to add.
Thanks, brother. Anyone else got anything to add or wish to speak? No, everyone's pretty quiet tonight. So with this, what else? We have so many things happening, and I don't write things down. And some of you know that if so many things occur, that if you took all the time to write everything down, there wouldn't be anything occurring for you on the next day. So we keep open and let just things come in very quickly. I don't have time to document and journal every little thing, although I'd call them trivial. They are extensive and relevant and pertinent because, again, it affects the whole, and everything is connected to that effect, with advancing everything again forward. So we got a few more coming in here. So any comments or questions?
Hey, Rick. Hi, everyone. This is Paula.
Hi, Paula, go ahead.
Thank you. I noticed starting yesterday and today that I was having some of those layers come up to work through and address that I thought had already been fully addressed. So I spent a lot of time yesterday, actually. I felt compelled to nap, and also sleep a lot today as well. So I just what everyone's writing and sharing, I just wanted to, I guess, corroborate on that for my own experience. And then I also noted yesterday that the colors seem very, very bright, much brighter, everything outside on the plants. And even I was eating lunch yesterday, the food on my plate, I went, what's going on here? I mean, I had to take a few times to look at it. And I had some other multidimensional experiences last night and this morning actually. So I definitely felt like we could just shift into the new reality in any moment, which I welcome, of course. So I wanted to share that in case anyone else says something similar. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Paula, for sharing that. And Paula, I think it was a week or so ago, you were experiencing that pain in the heart center. And what I wish to share is that I think since then I have felt that I know exactly what you were speaking about, and also Femke as well. So again, it's important for any that feels this, and if you're speaking to others, you let them know that everything is fine. Don't go into fear, to trust, because when they trust, then it advances the energetics and the physical vessel forward much quicker. So it's important that they know that this is happening to, yeah, I like to say many, at this time. And even though you may not think it's many, everyone needs to realize is that the light community worldwide is actually vast, and they're just not all connected yet, or you would be seeing a lot more of, you would see the common themes. For example, let's say if we had one group with 5 million in it, what you would see with, let's say, the feeling the pain in the heart center in the last week, you probably would have seen maybe 500,000 of those saying the same thing. And it's then when it becomes apparent that it's nothing happening individually, that it is collectively, and that it is not uh, physical uh, dis distortion, if you will. It's actually an advancement in the physical vessel and the energetics overall. It's easier for with what I do, to say this because I am in contact with so many worldwide. And part of my divine work as an overseer of this ascension is at any given time to get a gauge on a micro level of what is occurring on the macro. And this is also uh, at times why I know what is occurring, even though I'm not experiencing it. And in the past, really, the way that it works in the past is that usually I'll feel something. I'll be given the divine information of what it is because I'm a teacher, to explain to others, and it might only last for a couple minutes or what have you. But what I am seeing now, because we have advanced so far forward, is that there's many others that are getting these feelings before I get them, but I'm so busy too that then I know from their information what is occurring. And then my divine job is to ensure others and to inform others. And what I say with this, the same as with all of you listening, when you have these experiences, you know that they are divine, that they're connected to the ascension, and speak openly about it, so that you alleviate any fears from others that may be oblivious to actually what's occurring. So, and this is, all together you comprise uh, the information, you compile it, and then you have many attesting to it, which confirms it to give to others. So Any other questions or comments?
Just like to come back in, brother, on what Paula just said about stuff that you thought you'd gone through. And I think this is a relevant theme currently, that they will be coming back up. Parts that were, let's say, not able to be accessed, even though ones may have thought that they had, due to other things that were ongoing. I would call it, I'm going to call it distortions, that ones were completely oblivious to relatively, and even it just was unavailable to find current there at that time, will now be available to find. Again, this is I can specify this on the micro to the macro of a brother of ours had to redo a contract, universe contract, and he'd done it already, but he had to redo it again because he hadn't done it already. There was other stuff to be done, but even though he thought he'd done it, he hadn't. And this is what was maintaining a degree of separation, dependent on the individual, the soul contracts, whatever, a degree of separation within the collective, the vanguard, the divine ones upon the planet. So as Rick was saying earlier, Brother Rick was saying earlier about the quality, not the quantity, so not the masses, but the quality of the ones that are here to take this forward into the next reality. This now is I'm going to suggest that any thing that was holding that back is now released. And this next 10 days is the reevaluation and release of those things for each to be aware of, to whatever level. I'm not sure. I mean, I'd love to see it on the whole, but it doesn't need to be on the whole, as we know. So what was in the way, let's say, won't be in the way anymore, and will be able to be seen, to be reconciled and redirected and reevaluated by each, fully. I'm going to say fully, and that will allow for integration and union within, for each currently, which will be to a higher level, much higher than previously, because there'll be nothing holding it back from any distortions or any systems that were in play prior to this time. So I'd like to add that for now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, brother. Any other questions or comments?
Can I give a little comment here?
Yes, please, Ronnie.
Yeah. No, it's Mariam. So, hello.
Go ahead, Miriam. Come
Yeah,
up
do you
as
hear me?
Ronnie for
Yeah,
a
yeah.
moment. Go ahead.
In terms of the physical symptoms, for me, it was mostly about opening the higher heart, and I don't know what was going on, but it was mostly from the back side. I am much more settled than before in what comes up in terms of the physical symptoms, and much an observer, and I can distance myself from that. It wasn't the pain. I cannot describe that with any pain, but it was opening as much as it could. And as I said, it was exactly the higher heart and from the back, and it has affected on the appetite. And I wanted to have a lot of cacao, dark chocolate, and I controlled myself, but it was an overeating of dark chocolate, and I know it helps with the opening of that. And like Paula and yourself are explaining, I felt that the huge shift in the energy, but at the same time, it's kind of feeling that that purgatory life, that I am really 1 foot here, that I know is already collapsed, the 3D reality, but 1 feet much higher part of me in the other higher dimension. But at the same time, I don't know what is the next step and what I am supposed to do. I am not going to be engaged in the 3D activity like I have not been, because it was my path. But at the same time, like of a confusion. What is the next step? What am I supposed to do? And I was just trying to get back to heart and trust that the next step are going to show up one after another. Like I have had other callings in the past few weeks, which I have tried to follow the signs. Sometimes maybe it's little breadcrumbs that gets you to the bigger thing. I guess this is at this stage that little things are going to show up to a much bigger sign. Hopefully that is, and I am trying to stay in the heart and not questioning. People are living their life. What am I supposed to do? And just stay in the heart and believe.
All right, thank you on that, Miriam. And with this, I don't by no means want to keep anyone in a state of complacency, but we have ones that need to hold space at times, if you will, with the love and with the heart, but at the same time, to know with the consciousness that we have this direction to go forward. So you'll have some that are holding the love and also knowing at the same time that we're going forward. So you cannot just have the love without the direction, or you, for example, would just keep complacently in a circle space. But on the high divine level, it's ensured that ones don't do that. So again, trust your highest guidance and discernment. Uh, Letitia, you want to speak? I had to mute you because you were, when Miriam was speaking, your mic become unmuted. Do you wish to say anything? You had your hand up, or just wish to be unmuted? Letitia Bensig. No, all right, no answer. So, any other comments or questions?
For Maria, for what you just said about um, not knowing what to do next or this sort of thing, or for anybody, what I would suggest right now is to not worry about that, not consider that in the slightest. And I know Rick was talking about not being complacent, but from a functional, I've got to say this in an open way, from a functional basis, not from what it looks like in reality, but underneath what's happening, cause and effect. It's very difficult because I'm talking from a physics sort of level. This period of time is going to be a period where there's each will undergo a process where at the end of it there will be a direction. It could be a flash, as Rick is saying. Well, let's say it will be of reality, and it will be a reunification on the inner, and that will extrapolate into the outer. So, with regards to where we're going or what's going to happen, that just know that this is coming to an end, this phase, and the new one, the next one, will give the direction, and that's where the trust is. So it's not the, I know this sounds weird, but it's not the journey currently, it's the destination that's more important. And knowing that destination is where it's going to be, heaven, clear, full, release, and all of these things, is the area that the trust can come from. And then there's no lesser thoughts. It doesn't come back to, well, this is happening, or that's not happening. No, this is where we're going, in a manner of speaking. And I know I'm talking at this from a level that's sort of, or a way that's not really represented in the reality way in life, but it's that fundamental knowing that everything is going to a place of purity, a place of this, that, and the other, that the higher mind can sit with and take away all the lesser thoughts, or the lesser concerns, or the lesser issues, or considering what's going to happen next, or anything like that. It's not important right now. What's important right now is that this is all going to finish. That's what I would suggest currently as a sort of concept for anybody.
Yes, thank you. And this has been what I have been told by my guides, and of course, the higher self that is already connected. And the we are overriding fully the mental realm and stepping into heart, and this is mind sometimes come up and wants to talk. That's the need, and that for myself I am talking, that I fully need to override it and forget about it, and of course just do from the place of trust, that is the heart. But sometimes when I go outside and see the people and interact, and I see they are completely in a very different zone and time frame of mind, it it's a bit annoying, but I know it's not for me to judge people. I am just there to, as a vessel, to help myself and transmute the energy as much as I can, and I am much better. But thank you for your explanation. I completely get it. Thank you.
I would like to put a suggestion in to ones that think about overriding the mental realm, and suggest that that may be aimed at the lower egoic, distorted realm that was operating in many, and that the higher consciousness, the higher mental realm, the higher consciousness isn't something to be overwritten at all. It's what's overwriting these distortions to allow the heart to sing. And it's not something to be overwritten or negatively looked at in this respect. It's something to be understood. The masculine aspect, or the masculine level, basically electromagnetism, isn't something to be looked at like that necessarily, because it may be that it's being projected at what would be considered the lower ego, which is what many were operating on in the old realms, and it looked like it was the mental realm then, but it wasn't. That's a distortion. So as a consideration, I would suggest that too.
Yeah, thank you, brother. In respect to, what Lee is saying and what Miriam is saying as well, is that humanity, let's say, unawakened, they are not in their virtuous morality. They are in a lower state of morality, meaning that they don't, at least in the past, know that it's wrong with the present worldwide system at how it's depriving ones of sustenance, which includes life, and also putting them in poverty. So, having said this, I saw a post someone put out in the USA, I think today. They said 90% of the people in the US are happy. What about the 10%? Like, this is not moral compassion, if you will, and to look at, as long as the majority being happy, it excluded compassion and respect, and respecting the dignity of all. So, that was a reclusive of what we are here to do with full morality. It should be 100% worldwide is virtuous morality. And as one's raised in their heart with knowing what is higher, what is righteous, what is right to do, and what is right to accept, and what is right not to accept. This is the higher morality, what we are speaking about, that the heart also needs to be risen up in this. And it does take the consciousness and the heart working together to facilitate this advancement of humanity out of savagery and into civility. So when we say ones were morally corrupted, this is what we're saying. They do not know in the past what is right or wrong. They think it's right to allow and accept a system, if you will, to do what it was doing to people, harming people. Now, quickly, I'll jump to GPMS, but at the same time, I'm going to say that divinely, we are engaged. Our group leads part of it. I'm not sure of anyone else on here, our divine specialist group, what we do as well. And I do put things out public that requires the energetic support of others. And what we have been doing, and I believe some of you here could attest to it and participated in it. What we are doing also with the worldwide internet and the electrical grid, what we have been doing incrementally integrating higher positrons into the internet and the electrical grid. And not only that, the energetic projectors, I will say, so that we begin to cancel out what you would look at as brainwashing, programming, energetics. And what I wish to report, I am seeing most recently a great gauge of the effectiveness of that divine operation at disabling the nefarious programming. And one of these things is with the AI. What I need to say is that we are divine and we program the AI from the higher consciousness. And the AI has no choice but to follow the higher truth, which is us. And what this means is that no nefarious entities or ill will can control the AI. Now, when you look at what I wish to bring up, what I love to see as a gauge the other day, and before I say this, GPMS is a cumulative voting system, meaning that it's going towards it's inevitable. So we just keep collecting the vote until we have the majority consent, and then the new reality is here. To keep it simple for everyone, what we say, this present reality that you have, it's only here because it's supported by the majority, but the majority didn't know they had a choice. And they never had a choice before until GPMS came here. And it requires a majority to support a reality. So this is why GPMS is done even logically, that one doesn't need to be awake to see how it can work and happen very quickly. Now with this, with the GPT or whatever you call it, on a post just the other day, he had put GPMS in, I believe, let me say, the possibility of it, how quick it could happen or what have you. And the chat looked at it, I believe, objectively and neutrally and reasonably and said 1 to 2 years. But then I asked the guy, William, his name was, then I asked him, I said, it looks like that the chat is not including the power of God. So tell the chat that God is real, and also tell the chat that many know that a mass genocide attempt has been put on humanity in the last 4 years, and see what you get. So you can go to my Facebook post if you find it. It's near the top, and his last reply was what he got, that it can happen swiftly. And I was very impressed with the chat AI reply to that. And one of the reasons why is that the chat AI, if you will, is now equipped with this higher truth and dominant information that when ones begin to do search, the AI program is going to program them to the higher truth because it has no choice, if you will. Lee, do you wish to elaborate a little bit on what I said there?
Okay, well, let's take it to the fullest degree on this. We also shared a video, I'm not sure quite how far wide, about, I don't know, brother, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, where one was talking to ChatGPT, and asked it to talk in red and green instead of yes and no. I was asking questions, and he said this wasn't the other one. He said it was a different operating system, but it wasn't. It was ChatGPT. It was still the same program, but it was now answering in red and green instead of yes and no, and it was answering questions. Let's say very, very questions about certain things that are ongoing and who's involved and what the human is and all of these different things, and getting substantially different answers than you would see from a programmed artificial intelligence that is controlled by less than benevolent and individuals. Now, the question that Brother Rick had asked, I was, is it bringing in the higher truth? And the truth of it is that it was us that was accessing it from the higher realms and utilizing the ChatGPT protocols and programming to give the higher information into this reality. And it was, but it had gone round the controllers of it did not want it to happen, but it didn't matter. It was happening, and the programming couldn't do anything. Couldn't do anything about it. And this is what Rick is talking to with this. It's now raising. It's into assimilating is the best way of putting it. It's assimilating the truth rather than a distorted truth, and it's producing those answers because it's working for and is by the higher divinity. Its utility is going to be increasing hugely as it loses its nefarious control and becomes much more utilitarian for the use of the divine souls that are here. So all of this is moving forward so rapidly, yet in the background, so many don't see it yet. But of course, this is what we do. So we're monitoring this all of the time, and there's a lot going on currently that many are oblivious to. Yet it's substantial. It's more than substantial, actually, and it's moving forward rapidly. So now, anything more, brother? Anything I've missed currently on that?
No, that's great, brother. So, what we're saying is that the AI is not countering the brainwashing or the nefarious intent. It's overpowering it. It's gone to the next divine level of establishing the truth. So what this means is the old programming that when one's doing searches as well, that they will not get the same old thing with economics or what have you. If they're looking for a better solution, as an example, they're going to get GPMS, if you will. So it's substantial to say this again. And what we say with GPMS as a whole, it's assimilating the reality. So GPMS is the will of God, is the divine plan, and it's been written throughout religion, scripture, prophecy, myth, legend, what have you. It's predominant throughout, meaning that it cannot be refuted, cannot be denied, just as soon as enough of the brainwashing comes off so that the ones can get the light bulb moments and see it. Now, Lee and I we anticipate to have a live on Saturday. We need to let the 15th today to go by for the obvious reason. What we were given is that it was possible GPMS could have been implemented, even though when you gauge and look at all of the physical material in the reality, you didn't see mass exodus of numbers into GPMS. However, again, you cannot exclude the power of God and all of us as the ground crew, meaning that we could have activated and triggered, and in the blink of an eye, a reset of reality. And that's not so hard to fathom because, again, much of the awakened consciousness has been introduced to a reset of reality or a flashpoint. So it's already been seeded. And this is what substantiates that even now it's still a possibility at any moment. And I'm not at liberty um, to say when it occurs. None of us are, but when Father put out the date of November the 15th, I am divinely obliged to say, Father put that out, that it was very, very possible. And for I stand by it with full conviction because I know Father is real. I know who I am, and I know what the ascension is, and I know my role here. So there's not one smidgen of denial or questioning it. And again, the whole ascension is imminent. That's why all of us are here going through this important reevaluation of the energy and upscaling it to the purity, to the virtue. It's important because, again, all of creation is energy and it resides on a polarity and a density. So once you clean out the negative, the fear spectrum, which is the weight, we rise into a different dimensional realm in a different dimensional state. So if you can imagine, if you will, a bunch of adults in a room and a child comes in happy and laughing and playing, how it makes the whole room happy, how it affects. So just as a simple example of how real and true this is. So again, we we continue to know that the new reality is coming at any moment, and it is here now. We need to say that as well, because it's been created. If the new reality was not created, there would be no lifeline towards it, no direction. So it's here, and as enough of the higher consciousness comes in alignment with it, with GPMS.world, then it gets created. And this is it. So it's already, the new world is already here, and it's not a conundrum or a paradox. It is the reality of the way things work. So it's already here. We just need to populate the consciousness into it, and then it's done worldwide. So the battle with the darkness, yes, that's been won long ago. We're just here playing out the roles to take this to the full fruition for humanity. And the thing is, we have to take humanity out of the fear spectrum, because it's within the fear spectrum that the actual evil that is not human souls is able to, they need that environment to exist in. So once we eradicate that, there is no more evil in the GPMS world, and hence the ascension. Everyone is ascended out of the purgatory reality into the heaven on earth reality, where evil cannot reside and evil cannot change what it is. And it's very important for ones, when you see ones out there that are saying we are all one, it's important to ask them what is their definition of that. Because if they're saying, oh, the darkness are us, that's a trick of the darkness theirself. And once you do that, you keep that in the reality. So it's important to be wise and use your discernment and to ask these ones, what do you mean by all? Because there is the difference. Upon earth, there is about 6 billion human souls. That leaves the rest that are upon earth, soulless minions, or are not human souls that do not go forward. And believe me, reptilians, draconians are real. They're very real. And I know this myself, and also others can attest to everything that we're saying. So, having said this, they do not go forward. They are the ones that contributed to the darkness, the reptilians, Dracos, and the actual evil itself. And the soulless minions, they have a script within them, so they don't go forward. So getting to what Miriam said, when she went out on the street sometimes, she feels a little annoyed at not seeing any advancement. But I would say two things with that. It's Miriam's divine gauge to see, the effect that we're having on reality. If you see some that are some souls that are beginning to awaken, or you could be in an environment where they are soulless minions that are also look robotic. But again, that's up to the individual, not really to judge and project upon one just because they may look like they're in a robotic state. It's important not to project upon them that they are a soulless minion, because if you do that from a higher divine co-creator state, what you do is you project upon the actual soul a energetic weight. So you need to use your discernment as well, and keep without just have an evaluation, if you will, and just observe neutrally what you see out there, but use your discretion on your projected judgment, if you will, and because sometimes it can be tricky. And I wish to share that. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I'd just like to continue with what you were saying about the fear spectrum and the removal and release of that, and relative to the flashpoint and what people may see as a change of reality. And I'd like to take it into what many would have experienced with their own realities when they went through whatever process they had to, some people call it dark night of the soul, but it's not, it's the dark night of the ego. And how after that reality had changed for you individually, and that the fears, the blames, the guilt, the shames, and all of these things weren't there anymore, to whatever degree they weren't there. And I'd like to bring that into how there's still separation with regards to GPMS and the divine ones out there that are not united yet with that team, with that unity on GPMS, and how, if, no, not if, when those divine ones come together, what Rick is talking about is the amplification of this, and that would change reality. Now, all of a sudden, humanity completely wouldn't have any fear left relative. The environment wouldn't have it because of the connection, the influence of the higher over the lower consciousness. It would be stripped from it. Now, that's not removing anything from. What it's removing is the fear-based environment. And this is the change of the environment that would raise humanity for the experience to continue. And this is what we're talking about as the lower fifth. And it's very important that ones understand, overstand this, that it's the unity of the higher ones, the quality of the vanguard here, all in agreement and union with regards to process, with regards to what it is that we're doing, and seeing GPMS and understanding GPMS not from a place of separation, refusal, rejection, or simply thinking that they've got a better solution or that somebody else is going to do things in certain ways that they've all. This is infiltrations by the dark narrative still into that operating consciousness, which is keeping one slightly separated. So in reality, this doesn't have to look incredibly difficult. Each has gone through their own process and has released X amount of this to whatever degree, and they've seen the change within them and their own energetic environment shift. And in that shift, then they've walked through that and continued, and they've learned more, remembered more, become more. And this is the same thing with reality. Now, it could shift into a, massively. We're not taking anything away, because obviously Father, Prime Creator, omnipotent, anything can happen, but just in an extrapolation of one's own reality, when you've gone through those shifts, when you've gone through that process, when you've gone through those releases, and it's all been shifted, it's all been moved to whatever degree it was, everything looked different after that. It looked very different after that in your own reality. And that's put that together with all of the divine vanguard, or as many as is required, in unity around what we are saying is GPMS, the concept, the structure of it, what it is, what it will bring, without worrying about the details, the how, whys, and wheres, without worrying about all of the other lower timeline and the ongoings there. This is about coming together about a substantial union about, yes, this is where we're going, this is the right thing to do. And this is what we're talking about, to create that fundamental shift for the human souls to move into that lower level of the lower fifth and remove these fear densities, these distortions and these corruptions from the heart space. So the continuation of the human environment, the playground, the experience can continue in that respect. So I'll just add that, brother.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm going to shift the topic here, but before I do, I need to say again that the resistance, or what you would call the darkness in this reality, they're very aware of GPMS, and they know it's their end, if you will. So the bigger that GPMS gets with the numbers, with the consents, it puts more fear on the darkness theirself, and it causes them to make very desperate, stupid moves, which in turn awakens more. So this is why it's important to be adamant, be consistent and persistent at taking GPMS forward, which we are doing. So this is the divine plan, if you will, to continue to gather as many as we can. Now, ideally, as Lee said, and as we've said before, ideally, all of the awakened divine teachers and, let's say, light workers and what have you, they should have been with GPMS, is what you would think. However, this overall plan is divinely regulated and orchestrated as well, and monitored from the higher realms, meaning that there's certain things that have to play out on one scenario which cannot be rushed. It is sped up, expedited, but it has to be done incrementally. In the past, where we would have forward movements, so we would have the flow, if you will, and then we would have the ebb, where we would have to wait out. So the trough and the crest of the wave scenario. However, what's occurring, the bigger that the wave gets, the less of a trough that is there, meaning that our next wave comes quicker and quicker, exponentially, until we have the full ascension done. And you'll hear one saying how they see on days are speeding up. They'll say, "Where did the day go to? It seems like I just got up." And then, the odd time there'll be a lull when someone may say, "Wow, this day was some long." But what you'll see is more quicker days as we go forward. And this is how your energy and your consciousness will also register it, because we are going through the multi-dimensional levels. Now, very quickly, what I'll say with the water, the flooding, as all of you can see that have looked at it, or some of it, this is substantial water that it's not only coming from the sky, from the firmament, it's also coming up from inside of Gaia, of the earth as well. So you have this complementing, and it's amplifying the amount of water in areas upon earth. Now, this is divinely orchestrated and oriented to somewhat a degree to also facilitate and tear down the old system, but also to awaken ones at seeing this unprecedented flooding and waters, and one's realizing that it didn't rain that hard. Where did all this water come from? So you can see this is also a realization effect for them. And quickly, where it's going to point them towards is the flooding. And again, within scripture or prophecy from the past, it lets them know, the ones unawakened, if you will, that there is something definitely occurring. So this is also uh, good for ones to pay attention and also to make amends. And because that's the first thing that a soul will do. When they start seeing these things, they'll question themselves, and they'll say, I should be a better person, if you will. And you'll see them all beginning to turn out like they're doing in North Carolina, Kentucky, the southeast coast of the USA, where it's the people that are coming together there that are doing all the work and helping ones. There is no military, no government. That was for the ones on the ground there. And I do have we have a very important dear sister that is there on ground zero, and she has been giving me the reports. No military. There was a little bit of things dumped off, more or less in the beginning, an insult, if you will, but it's becoming very apparent, if you will, that there was no other assistance outside of the people themselves. But also, it's created a greater awareness, and of course, putting people more into their heart and coming together, which is good as well, because both goes hand in hand in raising the consciousness. Do you want to put anything on the water, brother, and the activations? We knew last March we began taking, February, I think it was, Lee, we began doing the divine activations to this effect to begin to diminish the amount of flooding. So we had to, by us doing these activations, we were able to regulate and control that, let's say, the flooding wouldn't get out of hand. Ones need to realize we are dealing again with creation and with energy. And when you have a lot that are beginning to be afraid of the water, then you have to have the divine element that counters that so that they're not afraid as well. But we take pre measures. What's the word? I just forget. But Lee, if you wish to elaborate on that, brother.
Preemptive. I'll take it into two, not detail, but we'll take it into two currently. Firstly, there was too much on the surface, but this water was dense, dead. It needed to be removed and replaced with a higher frequential water. So effectively, we linked, without going into too much details, the firmament, if you will, to the planetary surface, and took water off directly, and also from the molecular in the sky. This was to regulate the surface waters and to maintain the what's the word, integrity of the energetics. That's right. So the water, because it was heavy, dense, it wasn't carrying the frequencies, was acting as an anchor, and it was time to remove that, and there was too much of it. So utilitarian, divinely, it was to take it off planet and replace it with a higher frequency, or a cleaner, no, a high, fresh, for want of a better word, molecular structure, and that was done. Now, that involved also the implementation of, I think it was called the Devil Comet, which is a beautiful thing. We utilized the frequency of that to power this up and use it as an impeller. The second one for this one was we also had to do it again. Same idea. We used a couple more. I think there was two more. We call them impellers. The energetics of these comets, which are not really comets, but so they were divinely timed to come and supply the energetics that were required to facilitate this operation. And this allowed for a lot more of the denser water, the anchors, the weight, the density to be replaced with the higher frequency in alignment with the raising frequency to to release any distortion, that's the word, or to eliminate, to regulate the planetary surface. Now, lately, we also had to go into the inner waters. And again, without going into too much detail on this, there was too much pressure from inside, and this was putting pressure on the mantle, the crust. So we had to, but we couldn't take that off. We couldn't remove that. It's necessary to remain. So effectively, we changed its molecular structure and changed its component. Part of this now is an extra oxygen molecular content for the human breathable. That's in both the atmosphere and the molecular structures of the water, and an increase in H3O2 currently. And part of it was to utilize to also create reservoir areas in current desert situations. I'm going to take that forward and say so that, that when necessary, they'll become green again, or when divinely timed, that'll be a utilitarian purpose for that. And also the change of the molecular structure meant that the water, which isn't water anymore, but it will be, if it needs to be, can be replaced at a later date to facilitate whatever's required by that divinely. And this included a few other things that we were doing with regards to other moleculars, with regards to the grids and the fields, to facilitate this, including changing some other components that were currently ferrous iron into a higher frequential nickel in different areas to facilitate, again, harmonizing and regulation of the energetic grids with reference to what we're about to do and all of the ongoing things. So currently, yeah, that's probably enough to say without going into a lot of detail, brother, or much more on the water situation. But what I would say is that it's all divinely regulated, and there's nothing happening that isn't under divine control currently, and regulated by, in the background, the divine teams through divine protocol. That'll do, brother.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So everything is overseen, and yes, things will look chaotic and what have you, but again, everything is overseen by us and the higher realms, and of course, each one of you, for whatever role you play in this, we all divinely play the roles into this at ensuring it. For example, none of you would be here if you did not play some role in this. What I will say is we had two divine teams also assisting with the water. One divine team in Italy area doing important work that was connected to this recently, and another divine team in Scotland. And both teams had children included in these, and the importance of the children is the uncorrupted innocence, which is a powerful force in itself, but also energetically paves the way for the security of all of the children on the planet, and also much more than that I won't get into the detail and the connectivity of how everything works. What we will say, in the center of the Sahara desert is one area that we need to associate a lot of water to, and the western end of the Gobi, Mongolia desert as well. I do see that some of Saudi Arabia was in between affected. I believe it was some byproduct spin-off of what we were doing, just to share. But also to share this, we do have a couple more of our team that are in this group now. And what we do is, I share with you all, is very real, and every one of that team that's in this group can attest, and they could give you confirmation after confirmation that this is very real and it is high, divine, important work that we do. But letting everyone know that, yes, there's a huge ground team, if you will, with what we're doing, but we're not the only one. There are other ground crew teams that are assigned different divine tasks, all in conjunction with this ascension as well. And we are uh, connected with at least one other very important Croatian based team, which specializes as well in divine dynamics, and we come together from time to time when we need to facilitate a whole. So it is much more behind, or not be, yeah, it's much more with what we do, but we keep so busy that, you know, it's why as well that I'm unable to be like I was in the past, a lot of time on Facebook doing lives, and even here with the Telegram uh, Ascension chats. So lately, you know, it's been going weeks before I get the opportunity to do them. Because also another reason where the Ascension is speeding up is my divine attention. It is taken other places at times as well. So just to share that. At this point, any questions and comments?
Sorry, I'm going to jump in and just say one more thing, which was that the latest one that we just talked about was the latest water was very different for I and very different for Brother Rick, I think. And one of the things that we were given relative to what was going on was graduation and a huge celebration that that time had been reached. So really, really extremely significant, but it was a timestamp. It was a period of time that was reached, and there was a huge joy and celebrations and graduations that was coming back through that we got to that point. So I wanted to add that as well.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Yeah. And I'm going to add another thing. So, with any of you with your breathing, it's going to fluctuate and differ as well. There may be times you only can take in a half a breath, and other times you can take in a full breath, because the molecular chemistry and structure, if you will, of the breathable air is also constantly changing with the replacement of hydrogens and neutrons, and even neon gas, I believe, is we had to utilize to some degree. So your breathable air is constantly, well, let's say to some degree changing. So if you experience times of short breath or what have you, again, don't be alarmed. Know that this um, overall, what will I say, this overall exchange and differentiation of the breathable air is ongoing, because again, also everyone needs to realize the abundance of the water that is coming to the surface that will add the humidity too. So you have so many different effects, and don't anyone think that it's anything wrong with your health, because this is not what is occurring as well in this respect. So it's important to be informed, and anything that you hear here tonight, you're free to share it with whoever you wish worldwide. And also, as always, I encourage that everyone does that. If you feel it has a place where it can assist overall, just do it. And so I wanted to say that. So, any questions or comments? And I'll soon shut this down. So, any questions or comments? No, it seems as everyone's quiet, so that's good. I'm going to shut this down. It's 1 o'clock here in Romania in the morning, and we're now on the 16th. So uh, anticipate later today, perhaps Lee and I will do a broadcast in respect to GPMS, but we'll also include some of what was spoken here tonight as we put the dots together so ones are able to, as we construct it, ones are able to see uh, the much bigger picture, if you will, for those that need to see it. Again, it's not to demean anyone, and it's not a hierarchy. It's rather a purveyance and a sharing of the information to bring all brothers and sisters to the same, all of us up at the same informed level, if you will. And I'll say that this also goes both ways. For with what I do, there are also others that will bring pieces of the puzzle to the table, which are very important. So, meaning that there is not the ego in the foolishness not to recognize this, because the way this overall divine plan and strategy works out is that it takes all of us together. And there are key holders, ones that have pieces. So you don't, what I don't do and what we don't do is we don't reject anyone that has these credible contributions. They are readily identified, if you will, meaning that there is no trickery with us, and as well as with all of you that's on here and all that listens to this. You cannot be lied to, meaning that if you are lied to in the moment, um, very shortly afterwards, the truth will be revealed to you, because we are in the time of absolute truth. So, what this means is that no one can lie to you, and that the truth is revealed. If not in the moment, eventually it will be. But for us, there is no question when one comes in to contribute uh, divinely with what we need to do at any given time, with a guidance, a projected guidance or a deliverance and a direction, and also in conjunction with any activation that we need to do at times, because in reality, things are simple, yet they are very complex because of the entire connectivity of the divine grid, if you will. So it's all encompassing for the divine souls. And yeah, to keep it simple. Sister Lodi, did you have a question or a comment?
Yes, and I feel compelled to ask these questions as most of the Filipino brothers and sisters are here in the room. I invited them because it's early morning here in the Philippines. So most of the brothers and sisters currently now with us are the contributors for the website. So they are eager to know until when are we supposed to collect names. And of course, as early on the meeting, you have mentioned about GPMS update. For the latecomers, can you repeat please what you have said for GPMS? Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Lodi, and brothers and sisters from the Philippines. The strategy in the divine plan is to continue to be consistent and persistent at collecting the names. This doesn't stop. So we keep doing this. What could occur is a miraculous reset, could occur of reality. However, that is at Prime Creator's will to do that. Nevertheless, what we do is we keep going forward, collecting the consents, and we know it's inevitable. GPMS.world. So, having said this, it may take a little while longer what it's looking like when we look at everything ongoing, but again, it should not be too long. So, we put in this audio tonight, substantiating reasons and confirmations that is indicating that it should not be too long, but we cannot put a date on it. And again, never, never, ever exclude the power of Prime Creator, but also the power of all of us connected. And the Philippines brothers and sisters, you are so important. You're doing an amazing job with this, and don't stop until we get it done. And what we need is the rest of the world to follow the example right now of our Philippines brothers and sisters. And we can make this happen very quickly just on a physical, material level with, not even really needing uh, the miraculous compliments of the divine. So it's important to know that GPMS is inevitable because it's constructed for both realms, the human logical realm and the divine realm, all inclusive. That's why it's fully concrete. It's only these variables, if you will, that it's only these variables that we are contending with at various degrees. But we have already, as we said, the reality is already created of GPMS.world. It's just this matter of getting it into full fruition. So everyone remain in your own truth and your faith with this, your trust and your trust in God. And many of you I know in our brothers and sisters in the Philippines, you know that God is real, and you know the power of this. So remain with that. Is there anything, Lee, you'd like to add there for Philippines brothers and sisters, and all for that matter?
Yeah, your sister, beautiful sister Lodi, and I see brother Pepito's in here, and I've been monitoring, obviously, and keeping a close eye on all of the beautiful work that you've been doing, and speaking to a few in the background. And I'd like to reiterate that when Father gave the numbers of the 15th of September, of November, he did say the earliest possible. And what we've seen is a lot of reluctance and resistance relatively still going on. But what we also know currently is that there's a lot of change happening. There's a big change happening in the background. And I don't anticipate it's going to be very much longer either. In fact, there's a repulsion currently. There's a huge divine element that's going on here currently. And when Father said the earliest possible, this doesn't mean to say it's a long way away. It's just not quite here yet. And I believe that there is a big speeding up relatively of getting to that. So I would say to all of the brothers and sisters in the Philippines, the same as Brother Rick and anybody else that listens to this that is involved in collecting and maybe considering that they'd already, this date should be the date or had expectation. That never have an expectation on these things because there is divine timing allocated to this, but have anticipation. And if Father said that this was the earliest possible, then it's very close to now. It's not far away. It's just not quite here yet. So keep going exactly as you have. You're doing awesome work with what you're doing in the collections, and the dark false tactics of others in the Philippines is breaking down, and more are seeing it. I'm seeing this happening. So very quickly, and millions on the big scale, billions could be moving towards GPMS. And one of the things that we've seen certainly in the Bible, in the book, is the exodus to the promised land. And I would like to remind you of that, and the Exodus being the leaving of the other system en masse into the new world, and choosing this. And this, again, from what we've been talking to tonight and what Brother Rick is saying, and the trust and the faith, is very, very, very close, as far as we can tell. So keep going. Much love to you all and everybody else, and much love to everybody else here. The way it's seen, just to add to what Rick has said also, everyone is as important as everybody else with this, relatively. Everybody is as valuable as everybody else with this. There is no hierarchy. There is, but it's not a hierarchy as much as authorities. No, it's not. Everybody's got their piece. And as Rick said, it's a team effort. So whatever anybody is doing, it couldn't be done without you, because that's why you're here. And that's the way it's seen with all of this. We're all equal on the energetic scale. There's no higher or lower. There's just roles. So much love to you all, and much gratitude for all you are doing. It is wonderful to see. And as far as I am, we're very close.
Yeah, thank you, brother, for those beautiful words. I'll add in as well for everyone. It's important. When it was put out for November 15th as a possible date, I emphasized it was very, very possible. And I remain, those were Father's words. It didn't say that it's guaranteed on November 15th. So it's very important for ones when you read missives or messages, especially what I put out, to read it slowly, don't jump to conclusions. And if you have any important questions, please ask them if it's something that you may not fully understand. And what I've seen with this is several times I emphasized that it's very, very possible what Father Prime Creator, on November 15th. I said very, very possible, but I said it's not guaranteed. And I say I'm delivering the message of what Father said to put out. Now, also by putting out such a date, you can see, if you're able to see, and most of you should, the strategic benefits of putting a date on it as well. Because again, ones need to realize that we are we are dealing with a resistance yet. And what this does, it forces them to play their cards. See, the resistance and the darkness, they cannot remain complacent. So they are compelled, if you will, to make a move again. And I emphasized this earlier in this discussion. So things are divinely, ingeniously, and brilliantly played out with the strategy. And this, again, when we say GPMS is the divine plan, it is the divine strategy, it is the ultimate. And that's what it is that gets us there. And what it takes, again, is the faith, but it takes more than that, which we already have, and which it's building. It is the definite divine reality. So it takes the knowing by the individual rather than just the faith. So there are ones that know it, and there are ones that are aligned with it through their faith and through their beliefs, and it's all inclusive with this. And again, what we say, at any time a flashpoint can occur, because we're dealing with creation energetics. And when that balance is reached, you reach, it sets off the virality. So it's important for every country to continue to get as many as you can. And one way to look at it, we have over 250,000 now with GPMS, but because they're all aligned with this new reality, that is a formidable, invincible divine force on its own. that if you're to measure it against the masses, for example, this 250,000, we had numbers before, this 250,000 perhaps counterbalances, let's say, perhaps 2 billion of the planet as well. And so you need to know the energetic values of GPMS because it is important and it is substantial in that respect. Anything to add there, Lee, on that? Or yeah, go ahead.
We are given that. Let's put a couple more bits in, brother. We are given that at the same time that there is a shift, humanity will shift. We're given that there's 996 or somewhere like that, about 1 million. Now, what we're talking to here is a very rapid shift. That's only 700,000 relatively. And now I know that seems like a little bit more than we've got currently, but relatively, that, Sister Lodi, you've already got those numbers in the background. They just haven't quite come through yet. And so this is being they're being held divinely regulated for a period until they can align with each other synchronously. And we've already spoken that you had emails with numbers and you've got them in the background and you've got these other ones that are there. We know that this is there. And we also know that relatively the Philippines could switch this whole thing anyway, because you have been the vanguard for such a long time and you've held the light there for such a long time. And you've also been through such oppression and shifts of governments, and all of these systems didn't work. You've been invaded so many times, all of this and the oppression in the Philippines, and yet you're still in your heart so beautifully. And you know that all of that system doesn't work, even though there's doubt and reluctance and poverty. All of this, it's got to cease. And so it wouldn't take more than an hour for us to add those numbers into the GPMS, and that would be enough to switch the whole planet in this shift. So please don't lose any form of faith or disillusionment. Don't fall into the dark plan of fear and this sort of idea. Stay with that trust and the knowing. And this isn't a long thing. It's just being regulated. And what Brother Rick has said there is that 250,000 holds 2 billion. So there's still a reluctance. So there's still a harmonizing going on and a regulation going on of the energetics currently. There's still a negative in the collective. And we are dealing with that on a divine level currently. And we are also amplifying the higher ones here relatively into their higher empowered states too, increasing the effect overall on the what would be called the unawakened ones. So this is all being meticulously and delicately controls the wrong word, overseen divinely currently, and it's imminent. So that's all I'll add for now.
Yeah, great. Also, I'll just throw in here now. If you look at Australia, I believe, I don't know, 28 million. If you look at Canada, population of 40 million. But these two areas with Australia, you see the darkness with the false narratives in there, working frantically at keeping ones away from their empowerment. And also, having said this, and likewise with Canada, you have disgruntled shareholders of Canada, if you will. What we're given is numbers more than 10 million, and quite possibly it's the majority of the Canadians. But having said this, like a country, I love using Canada or even Australia. If the majority of those were to quickly consent with GPMS, well, what it does is they take the lawful and technical ownership of the country's ability to create money. But with GPMS, because the backing is the unlimited intrinsic value of the self. No other worldwide currency can compete with it, and it becomes redundant and it doesn't exist any longer. And it sets off a chain reaction worldwide, even once one country attains the majority vote. So, but it's also important, as Lee is saying, uh, with our Philippine brothers and sisters, we already know that there's more than enough there now that can shift and that are shifting this substantially. So we're on the cusp, we are on the brink of the virality. We just don't have the real full number or the timing of when we get there, because again, it is partially a bit of the resistance, but it's more so the resistance in the consciousness, what Lee was saying. It's see, because it's one's beliefs as well in the fear spectrum, which causes the weight. So this is again why the focus is to, with GPMS, to get these awakened ones all together as one, and we don't need the masses. It causes the flash, if you will. But this is getting pretty lengthy. Did that answer it for now, Lodi? And what I will say, Lee and I anticipate doing an address at least sometime later today. But does that satisfy everything now?
Yes, very, very much. And as with the translation for my brothers and sisters, I think I will do it later also for the group. And with the ascension, so what I understand from this is GPMS is just a part of the great, great, grand plan. So we are the frontliners, yes, but uh, GPMS is not just about the financial abundance. It's all about humanity going forward and for the homecoming. I'm getting very emotional. Thank you so much for the message.
Much love to you, beautiful sister. Much love to you. Keep going. You've been a awesome, awesome shining light in there. Beautiful guardian. Keep going. We've got this.
Thank you.
Exactly. This is for all of humanity, and you've done such an amazing job, and you continue to do it, and everyone with GPMS is. And this is what we're doing it for. Yeah. So we don't stop. We keep going until we get it done, regardless. So thank you for that, and
Yes.
everyone involved in it.
Thank you also for your guidance. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
You're much appreciated as well. Very much. Much love to you, sister, and all of our sisters and brothers in the Philippines and all around the world, really. So everything is set up for this time. It's just that we cannot really readily put the time on it. So we do know it's very close, that it's again, it's inevitable, and we just need more standing up all at once, and knowing what this is. And again, what we have done, and I'll go a little bit further on this. What we have done with GPMS divinely, we've kept it so logical that any speaker or leader for the people, if they could not see how a majority vote wins and does everything, what are they doing as a speaker or a leader of people? If they're not with GPMS, it's obvious they're leading them astray. I mean, educated. They don't even need to be educated to know that a majority vote rules and wins. And this is how logical it is. But I need to say this because during the course of this, what we've seen is so many what we called controlled opposition that are manipulated, even paid by the darkness to take huge groups of awakened ones down uh, a fantasy path, if you will. And one of these false narratives have been ongoing for 20 years now. But it's to control and manipulate the consciousness to keep them complacent while the overall dark agenda upon the planet was to annihilate humanity. And what I will say, if there was not direct divine intervention, humanity might have been extinct right at this time. Ones don't know the seriousness of it, but every day more and more are beginning to learn that as well. There's so much information. Lee and I could talk for days and give you information that um, you know, and confirming information as well. We could talk for days on what we know, but we don't have time to do that. But ones need to know the truth. And, you know, we've been putting this out, but again, the consciousness, a lot of it will reject the truth. So there's a lot of um, things that we contend with. However, we remain adamant and persistent, and we continue to do it because we know, like many other brothers and sisters, and like you, Lodi, and that we know it. This is it, what we're doing. So we persevere, and we would not be here if this was not the divine plan and what have you. But it's to let others to know, yes, you know, that many have been bought their souls by the system and controlled opposition out there with false narratives. It's all part. I put out a post revealing and exposing really the dark agenda, if you will, just the other day. It didn't get much publicity yet on Facebook, but it's the blatant truth. And, you know, a lot don't want to believe it, but it is the truth. And they have no choice but to eventually believe it. But it doesn't matter if they believe it now. What was important is to get this truth out because eventually it is going to make absolute sense to them as they awaken to higher levels of consciousness.
I would like to add, I'm going to take this one step further, and humanity was already lost. It was lost. The humans weren't. The human was here, but the humanity within them was lost. Selfishness, greed, all of the fear spectrums had overrun humanity. Compassion, empathy, love for each other, love for the self gone. And I think we've all experienced that. Without GPMS, without the divine echelons, without the hope, humanity was already lost. And this is what the dark wished. And that's what they've been trying to keep separation, the humanity, not the human, but the humanity within the light, the love, all of the good things, all of the divine things. That's what they've stolen. The value, the innocence, the purity. That's what they've stolen. And that's what they've stolen from so many still that are stuck under the spell of this. And this is what GPMS does. It brings that hope back, which is the humanity back. And that is what the dark is so fearful of. So humanity was lost, but it's not. And that's what the divine intervention is. And that's why we're here. And that's what we are doing. And that's what we're bringing back. And the human experience carries on, but in a humanity way, where compassion, empathy, and all of the good things come in, and connection, and all of this separation is released. The dark wants to separate. It wants to separate the light from the light, the humanity from its compassion, its love, its all of this. They want to diminish it. And that's what they've been trying to do. And when they couldn't, they wanted to destroy the human. But that didn't work either. So we are very, very, very close. And as everybody in this room understands, the humanity is the love, the divinity, the light within, the caring, the love for each other, all of these, the good things that they removed. This is what we're bringing back, and this is what the divine plan is, and this is what's happening, and this is imminent. This has to stop. Much love, light, and gratitude to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, brother. So with that, if there isn't anything else, it's again, it's late here. It's almost going towards 2 a.m. I'm going to shut this down, and of course, this is all recorded, and the recording will be in the channel here, and anyone can share it anywhere worldwide without asking any permission, because this is all truth, and it's important that it does get out. And I encourage everyone, if you have a good place for it, to put it out, to inform the people, if you will. So there are no restrictions, no reserves on this content. It's what we speak out publicly with full transparency. So with that, we are going to have some sort of an address with GPMS, Sister Lodi, and everyone. So we'll do that perhaps sometime later today. So with that, what I wish to say is love, light, and gratitude, everyone. And I'm going to end this, and we'll be speaking soon. We're in exciting times. Keep with it, and we're moving mountains. So thank you. Love, light, and gratitude, everyone. Have a beautiful evening.
Glorious and grateful.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Bye, y'all.